And welcome into NFL Daily. We are live once again here on Tuesday. I am Tom Downey, producer Chris, behind the scenes for today's live show. We'll talk mock draft from Mel Kiper. We'll do a mailbag, and we'll talk head coaching updates as the jobs begin to thin out a little bit. There are 5 jobs open as of filming, with the acknowledgement that maybe the Chargers job gets filled today, while we're live, tonight, whatever. Very real possibility of that. What's the best job currently available? ATL for the Falcons, CAR for the Panthers, WAS for the Commanders, SEA for Seattle, and you can still type in LAC for the Chargers, although continuously growing buzz that Jim Harbaugh will be landing that job, whether it's again today, in the middle of live show today, later in the evening. We shall see on that front. What's the best job? I think the answer is the Chargers, by the way, because they already have the quarterback established, like clearly established. Seattle does it. Carolina has an investment in. The Commanders will. The Commanders' job, low-key, by the way, because since Dan Snyder's not there, not as bad of a job as it's been the entire time Snyder has owned things. A lot of cap space, number 2 overall pick, good GM now in place, or at least guy I think I was going to be a good GM. That's a fun sleeper spot. Seattle's kind of in a good team, but not a great team, and how do you get them to be great from that perspective? Carolina is, if you believe in Bryce Young, it's a good job. Atlanta has a lot of the core pieces except for quarterback, but ownership is pretty solid, and they will spend for you, which is very impactful there. So what job do you like the best? Rashard Lee is written in the Milwaukee Bucks. Which is funny. Kind of crazy on that front, by the way, for the Bucks to fire Adrian Griffin and then immediately go to Doc Rivers, it sounds like, which is something. The 3-1 lead he'll have over the Sixers is going to go so hard. He'll blow it again, probably. So best job, go ahead and vote for me in the comments. ATL, CAR, WAS, SEA, or LAC. The heavy buzz for a while now has been Bill Belchick and the Atlanta Falcons. Now, whether it is because of, they've been trying to kind of negotiate to the media of how much power, et cetera, he ends up getting, there has been some buzz. Maybe it won't be Belchick in Atlanta, and not that many other teams seem interested in him at this stage. So will the Falcons end up hiring Belchick as the head coach? Y for yes, N for no. 70% yes, 30% no in the pin poll right now. If I had to guess, I still think yes, but I'm not nearly as confident as I was when that process kind of first got going there. It's not Belichick. They've casted a pretty wide net. And maybe they go with the offensive mind instead. But I think, Blank tried to hire the big name before, hasn't always worked out, or hasn't always landed it. We'll do it again here. Y for yes, N for no in the comments. Christopher says yes. The Impact Hour Bible Study says yes. Shelly says no. Shamari says yes. Rashard says no as well. Keep the comments coming for me here in the comment section of today's show. We'll also give you guys shout-outs all day long because it's fun to do that. I find it enjoyable to focus heavy on that type of things there, or those types of things, I should say, in the end. Now, today's show is made possible by Game Time, and you've probably heard us talk about Game Time previously and all the great stuff that Game Time does here. They are offering a new deal. All users, whether you've downloaded the app before or not, get $100 off when you buy a big game ticket. You know what we're talking about, right? Big game, right? With code Vegas100. That is promo code Vegas100. Now, the other deals are still available. NFL Chat, $20 off your first purchase, etc. Game Time is the place for last-minute tickets. So if you have previously downloaded Game Time and you've used promo code NFL Chat or whatever, and you're trying to go out to Vegas for the big game, use promo code Vegas100 for $100 off your ticket. And, of course, if you're not going to the game, just use promo code NFL Chat for $20 off your first purchase on anything. That could be music, it could be concert, it could be theater, it could be a different sporting event altogether. But Promo code NFL Chat gets you $20 off your first purchase. Promo code Vegas100 gets you $100 off a ticket for the big game, even if you have previously downloaded the app. And NFL Chat is for new users. Vegas 100 is for all users. The link and the promo codes, both of them, will be in the comment section and the description of today's live show. NFL Chat, NFLCHAT, for $20 off your first purchase. Vegas 100, VEGAS 100 for $100 off a big game ticket. Speaking of the games that will set up the big game, who you got in the NFC Championship game? L for the Lions or 4 for the 49ers? I think it'd be fun to have the Lions in there. A testament to culture and coaching, right? And general roster building. And, Jared Goff getting back there with a very different team and different supporting cast. He's been solid in the postseason, but it'd be a very impressive feat he would be able to accomplish there. I think the Niners are going to win that one, though. Who you got winning? L for the Lions, 4 for the 49ers. Chualor, shockingly, it says 49ers. Can't say I'm surprised that one. They're a Niners fan. Shelly, however, says L, so too does PKK in the comments. Sex Ultra also says L. In the AFC, this one could be a real barn burner. C for the Chiefs, R for the 49ers. I've always found the barn burner phrase very kind of funny. That's why I like to use it. Because it's something so good, you're just watching it while the barn burns. Very, very country turn of phrase. C for the Chiefs, R for the Ravens. I'd love to see Lamar in there. And I think this Ravens team is better. This is the two best defenses from a points allowed perspective this year. You probably argue the Browns had a better defense, playoff disaster notwithstanding, because their offense was really bad and they kind of had to carry them. But these two defenses are very, very impressive. Could be maybe a bit more of a lower scoring game, or the quarterbacks overpower everything. C for the Chiefs, R for the Ravens. Shelly says R, Lore says R, so they're going, Lions, Ravens, or Niners, Ravens, which would match the Super Bowl logo trend. That'd be kind of hilarious. Let's see. L and R. Let's see. C from Cordarius Reed in there. Mostly R. I don't know what Cordarius is talking about there. Cordarius says C. PKK says R. Brandon says Ravens. Shamari's got Niners, Ravens. I think that would be the best matchup. I think it would be. Now, if you are excited for the AFC, NFC Championship games, then do me a favor. Like today's video if you haven't already done so. I am excited. Hopefully they're good games. We will be live here on Chat Sports on Sunday for those matchups. So if you haven't already, hit that sub button right now. Or hit the like button, excuse me. But also, you should be sub too. Coming up on today's live show, NFL news and rumors, a mailbag. There are, as always, 2 ways to get on the show for that. Use hashtag NFL, or you can skip the line, guarantee that you get on by super chatting. We will also run through the latest Mel Kiper mock draft. Some interesting choices mixed in there. That's all coming up here live on NFL Daily. Tom Downey here for NFL Daily by Chat Sports, breaking down where things sit with the NFL head coaching searches. Several spots filled, several spots open. 3 head coaching jobs have been filled thus far. The Patriots stuck with the initial plan and gave the job to Gerard Mayo, which had been written into his contract as the coach in waiting. Antonio Pierce earned the job as the interim head coach for the Raiders. And then on Monday evening, Brian Callahan, the first outside hire, the Bengals offensive coordinator, getting to be the new Titans head coach. The open head coaching jobs then sit like this. The Atlanta Falcons, the Carolina Panthers, the Washington Commanders, the Seattle Seahawks, and the Los Angeles Chargers, which maybe will only be filled for just a little bit longer, but as of filming, that job is currently open. So of these 5 gigs, which is the best job, the most intriguing job out there? ATL for the Falcons, CAR for the Panthers, WAS for the Commanders, SEA for Seattle, or LAC for the Chargers. Now, I think most are going to vote Chargers here because of the presence of Justin Herbert. And the report out of NFL Network is that the Chargers are getting closer to hiring Jim Harbaugh, and the conversations have been ongoing as we sit here filming this between those two sides. The Falcons have shown some interest, but the Chargers meeting with their former quarterback, yeah, kind of funny how that all works out, for the second time. This had been the heavily linked spot all off season. Plus, if you can go get the coach from Herbert, and Herbert's a great spot for a team, it just kind of makes sense for Harbaugh to have interest there. Plus, he spent so much time on the West Coast. He was the Raiders quarterbacks coach, San Diego head coach, Stanford head coach, Niners head coach, and then it took a very long time in Michigan after kind of being a bit of a job jumper previously. But he's won at every single spot he's been as a head coach since 2004. Everywhere he goes, he wins. That makes him a very appealing candidate since he's won the national championship for his hometown team, so to speak. He, of course, played at Michigan as a Michigan man. Kind of like LeBron, right? You win it for the Midwestern team you grew up with, and then you go out to L.A. to do your next phase. Kind of funny that works out. The other Chargers interviews here, which are worth mentioning, Leslie Frazier was interviewed, Aaron Glenn, Patrick Graham, Ben Johnson, Mike McDonald, Todd Monken, Kellen Moore, Raheem Morris had been interviewed, Dan Quinn. They interviewed David Shaw. He's got several interviews, not a non-zero chance he joins the Harbaugh staff from their time together at Stanford. Jeff Smith got an interview as the interim head coach. Mike Vrabel got an interview. Steve Wilkes. But the heavy buzz so far has been the interest in Jim Harbaugh. There was even a report from Aaron Wilson. The rumored top assistants could look like this for Harbaugh. Greg Roman, which, oh boy, I don't love that one. He can't design a passing game. That's not what he's good with. Jesse Minter and Jay Harbaugh would join from the Wolverines to LA, and I think Minter gets a DC job in the NFL if he wants one. From either Harbaugh brother. There's ties to both of them there, of course. So if it happens, or maybe when it happens, potentially, grade Jim Harbaugh to the Chargers. A, B, C, D, or F. Sound off for me in the comments section, the pinned comment of today's video. Let's check in on the other open head coaching jobs here. The Atlanta Falcons. They've been heavily linked to Bill Belchick all cycle long, but there have been rumors of that slowing down. Maybe it's not the best fit, whatever. Maybe they're going to go in a different direction. Maybe it's negotiating in the media. Who knows? Here is the list of second interviews finished, planned, requested, or scheduled. Now, I will make note, guys like Anthony Weaver, Mike McDonald, Aaron Glenn, Ben Johnson, those guys can't have the second interview until later in the process because they're still in the playoff hunt, so that has to come after this weekend. So if you want one of those guys, you got to wait longer there. Bill Belchick, of course. Ejiro Evero's had interest. Anthony, by the way, well liked in some coaching circles. Could be a future DC, but he'd be skipping the line because of leadership, basically. Mike McDonald, love what he's done on defense. Aaron Glenn is a former player. He's loved by his players. I think if you want to go the also-ran route among defensive coordinators, I think Raheem Morris is due for a new shot. And then Bobby Slowick, Ben Johnson, kind of far and away are the top two options for the young, innovative offensive mind. Some other interviews the Falcons had. Try to get one with Jim Harbaugh for a second. Don't know if that's going to happen, by the way, because of the Chargers' interest. Joe Brady, Brian Johnson, who is now fired as the Eagles' head OC. He's not going to get the job, obviously. Steve Wilkes and Mike Vrabel, who kind of quiet around him. You know, we'll see what happens on that front. So will the Falcons hire Bill Belchick as their head coach? Y for yes, N for no. Go ahead and sound off for me in the comment section right now. While you are down there, make sure you have downloaded the Game Time app at GameTime.co. They are the place for killer last-minute tickets, and they are the fast and easy way to buy tickets for sports, music, comedy, theater events, etc. If you are trying to go to the big game in Vegas this year for the NFL, you have to use Game Time because they are giving any user, whether new or old, $100 off your ticket. You simply use promo code Vegas100, and they're going to give you $100 off your ticket. Imagine what else you can do with $100 in Vegas. Can bet it all on black. It never fails, right? If you're not going to the big game, that is okay as well. The NFL Chat $20 off promo code is still eligible as well. Simply use promo code NFLCHAT for $20 off your first purchase to anything. It could be, it could be just a concert. It could be a theater for a show, maybe for your wife. It could be a different sporting event altogether. But if you are going to the big game this year, there's no way you can't use Game Time. They're literally giving you $100 off. So use promo code Vegas100, VEGAS for $100 off. The link and the promo code are going to be in the comments section and the description of today's show. We appreciate Game Time sponsoring us here at NFL Daily. Let's go to Carolina. They have hired a new GM. Dan Morgan is the man to take over things in Carolina. He was the kind of assistant GM, gets promoted, probably going to have a new money salary cap guy as a higher-ranking assistant in that organization. But Carolina's gone with an interesting path. Not that many second interviews scheduled as of this stage. They do plan some with both Raheem Morris and Dave Canales, who has ties to Dan Morgan. So keep an eye on the Bucs offensive coordinator for this potential job here. Other names, Ben Johnson, Todd Monken. I love the Monken hire for the Ravens. Not sure he's head coach. He's a good offensive coordinator. Bobby Slowick, Frank Smith. If you have coached in the Shanahan-McVay tree and you are an offensive coordinator, you're going to get head coaching interviews no matter what. Chris Tabor got an interview. That's not going to happen. It just was kind of doing a guy a solid. Dan Quinn has an interview. That's interesting. I'm not sold on him after the way the season ended. Again, Mike McDonald, Raheem Morris, good defensive minds. And I'm sure the new guy, if they don't hire Giro Evero, would want to try to keep him in place. So who will Carolina hire as their head coach? I think it's an open search still to a certain extent. I don't know if it's going to be Dave Canales out of nowhere. Maybe not out of nowhere, but as a surprise emergence. I like what he's done in Seattle and Tampa, by the way. Who do you think it ends up being? Sound off in the comments section. To the Commanders now. This is no longer the laughing stock joke I used to make it, because they've made some promising changes with new ownership in. Adam Peters was a home run hire, as much as we can hope one to be, if we don't know how it all works out in the end, of course. As their new GM, ownership is making real change and making upgrades. I think this is a very appealing job with the number 2 overall pick and a ton of cap space as well. The list of second interview coaches so far: Bobby Slowick, Dan Quinn, Aaron Glenn, Ben Johnson, Raheem Morris. Now, again, Glenn and Johnson have to wait an extra, weekend. I think Ben Johnson has been a popular target for them. Can they land him? We shall see. I think it'd be a really good addition for the Commanders. The other known interviews were Anthony Weaver, Mike McDonald. They also interviewed Eric Bieniemy, which, okay, it doesn't really do anything as far as I'm concerned. I'd keep an eye on Raheem Morris here, and there is ties to Bobby Slowick, but I think Ben Johnson, both in Carolina and Washington, have been very popular, targets for those two teams. So who will the Commanders end up hiring as their head coach? Go ahead and sound off for me in the comments section right now, and make sure you are subscribed. On top of that, we will be live for the NFC and AFC championship games. We had a great time last Sunday, last Saturday, over 100,000 views. Expecting more of the same this time around. So if you haven't already, hit that sub button right now. The Seahawks will wrap up on the West Coast here. The early list of second interviews for Seattle, the one that have been announced, I think there's more that haven't been publicly announced yet, is very interesting because it's not a normal list of coaches. It's not the same we got Ben Johnson, etc. It's Giro Evero, who is a very good young defensive coordinator, Patrick Graham, the Raiders DC, Mike Kafka, the Giants offensive coordinator, Raheem Morris, who I think is more worthy than Dan Quinn. Oh, by the way, there is at least one, I'm going to call it a rumor report, because I'm not familiar with the writer who is a West Coast author or West Coast reporter, allegedly, that Dan Quinn is interested in He might bring Chip Kelly with him as the offensive coordinator, so wouldn't that be something? The other interviews here, some more notable names, either planned or set up. Ben Johnson, Bobby Slowick, Frank Smith, and Mike Vrabel. So we'll keep an eye on that. But these jobs are, or these interviews, the second ones are a very interesting group. You're trying to replace Pete Carroll, might not be the easiest thing in the end. So final prediction for these head coaching gigs. Who will the Seahawks end up hiring as their head coach? Sound off for me in the comment section right now. All right, back to the NFC Championship game. Who you got? L for the Lions, 4 for the 49ers, excuse me. Sip some water there. I'm going to go 49ers. I think it'd be really fun to have Detroit in there. They've never been far enough. The Niners have been so close for so long, even longer than some of your other notable drought teams for a Super Bowl championship. This is a huge window for both these teams. If you're the Lions, you figure you're going to lose your innovative offensive coordinator. It's concerning. If you're the Niners, God, you have such a good team right now. So L for the Lions and 4 for the 49ers. As your votes come in, it is mailbag time here on NFL Daily. So as a reminder, there are 2 ways to get on the show. Number 1 is simply use hashtag NFL. So GMEV, appreciate your hashtag NFL question in there. I see some other questions in there that don't have hashtag NFL, so make sure you do that. Otherwise, producer Chris can't find your questions. There's too many comments, etc., to not have the filter basically applied. So Thunder 404, thank you. If you have NFL questions, you just got to super chat and skip the line altogether and get yourself on the show. Or use hashtag NFL. So Jacob's NFL channel, appreciate that as well. Super chat's a guarantee. Hashtag NFL is, we'll see if producer Chris ends up picking your question or not. So again, hashtag NFL, super chat to get on the show. We'll give you guys a few more seconds here to get your questions in the queue. But again, hashtag NFL, super chat to get on. You guys are watching NFL Daily. I am Tom Downey, here to answer all of your questions on this live NFL Daily mailbag from GMEV, who I feel like this used to be somebody else with a Boise State professional. Anyway, I digress. Should Carolina try to get Tyler Boyd? You can. Carolina's kind of at the point where they just need talent. They have to address the wide receiver room. Thielen did do a lot of slot stuff, and I think he's still good in that role. If I were Carolina, I would probably target upgrades of my, bigger-bodied outside receivers. Of the Bengals receivers, I'd throw money at T. Higgins. I'd spend my first pick, number 33 overall, on a wide receiver. It's a good class because the Terrace Marshall, DJ Chark stuff didn't work. Thielen was fine. He's not a number 1 anymore. So I'm not opposed to adding Tyler Boyd, but if that's all you do at receiver, man, you got to find more options there. From Thunder 404, what way do you think the Giants will go in the draft? Also, think with the next DC after Wink Martindale. So 2 good questions here. Depends on if Jaden Daniels is there at 6. If Daniels, or I guess Drake may too, is there at 6, I'm putting in that card for the Giants, and I'm saying, sorry, Daniel Jones, we found a more talented quarterback than you, and you eat the Jones money for a year and rebuild that way, and you can take a receiver in round 2. If quarterbacks go 1, 2, 3 or go 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever, and Daniels is not there, with maybe trades involved too, then you're going to have your pick of, in theory, Malik Neighbors or Marvin Harrison. There is a scenario in which quarterbacks and receivers make up the first 5 picks in which, okay, maybe you pivot and you try another offensive lineman or you trade down. But I feel like the realistic worst case scenario for the Giants is Jaden Daniels or Malik Neighbors is there. You're probably not going to take Brock Bowers. You could have your pick of defensive players, not the route I want to go. There should be a really good player for you in the draft. And if you go receiver, or if you don't go receiver in round 1, Going to be some good ones on day 2 for you. And then you add a lineman at some point too, because you need to get some more talent there. And then pick and choose your defensive spots where you want to upgrade based on who you hire as your defensive coordinator. A lot of interviews out there. I think Patrick Graham would be ideal for the Giants. How much of that true New York Daily News story was true of the, Brian Daboll maybe doesn't play well with his subordinates? That's a red flag for hiring a defensive coordinator. It's not a bad job. I think you kind of got to let some of the head coaching stuff kind of play its way out. But they should be able to get a decent guy in there. I think Graham would be the ideal pick for the Giants, kind of bring him home to a certain extent. From Joey, Stephon Diggs trade when? I don't think it happens, actually. Pre-June 1st, you sit yourself into a position where you are at something along the lines of $31 million in dead money. So that's not a good place to be. You could post June 1st, cut or trade, but they're not getting an asset this year. I think they keep him for a year. Maybe they don't touch the contract and eat the big money, but that seems unlikely. The best path for the Bills to win next year, which is what they want to do, is to keep Stephon Diggs. So will the Bills keep Diggs? Y for yes, N for no. Go ahead and sound off for me in the comment section right now. Speaking of the Bills, from Jacob's NFL channel, should the Bills fire Sean McDermott? I would not. There are things to be frustrated about. Make no mistake. You made it to the AFC divisional round. You were, again, one play away from making it even further. You ran into your boogeyman of Patrick Mahomes. The defense played better down the stretch this year. And that, I think, is enough reason to keep McDermott as the head coach. Not saying give him a massive extension or anything like that, but I do think the Bills' best path right now is to run it back with Sean McDermott. You probably make Joe Brady your full-time offensive coordinator. But the bar is high in Buffalo right now, which is important to remember. From Computer K1D, think the Bears should keep Fields or Jaden Daniels? Caleb Williams and Drake May suck, so no. I reject the premise of this question. It is not, Caleb Williams and Drake May do not suck. They might not be good. They might bust. The reality is of those three quarterbacks, odds are about 50-50 for each of them. They're both a lot of fun. All three guys are a lot of fun. I'm not taking Jaden Daniels number 1 overall. So I guess if you are so far out on Williams and May, I guess you're going to run it back with Fields and trade down or take Marvin Harrison in that scenario. And I like Daniels a lot. Slim Reaper is at times kind of a chaotic person because he just sacrifices his body a little bit too much. But I am not out on May or Williams either. Now, today's show is made possible by PrizePicks. Fantasy football season is over. Maybe you were a champion, maybe you weren't, but daily fantasy isn't going anywhere. And PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. House money. Here's my conference championship PrizePicks slate. Give me more than Gus Edwards rushing yards. I watched James Cook have success. Why not the Gus bus? The freebie, Isaiah Pacheco, receiving yards. Sam Laporta, more than receiving yards. And Brock Purdy, more than passing yards. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Link's going to be in the comment section and the description of today's show. We appreciate PrizePicks sponsoring us here at NFL Daily. From Ron, if the Bears had Montez Sweat week 1, do you think they would have made the playoffs? Oh, it's a fun question. I think they would have looked much better on defense. And I will say, Sweat's a very good football player. The Bears finished the year at 7-10. Would they have been able to flip that minimum 2 games to make it there? I'm not so sure. Remember, some of their losses came from they had that game and they kind of gave it away in a couple of different moments there. The defense got better. The offense still has room to grow. I think they wouldn't have been eliminated so quickly. I think the answer's no, but they would have been closer. And you saved some time getting him in earlier by trading away that second-round pick. It was a premium investment, but you got a good player. It's a lot better than the Chase Claypool trade. Mark Kearns, convince me the Bears should keep Fields if I was on the fence. Ooh, okay. So background, I would take a new quarterback. But the pro argument here is you have a 24-year-old, going to be 25-year-old, who has shown the ability with a cannon for an arm and mobility, continues to flash the traits you're looking for in a franchise guy. Luke Getsy wasn't the answer. That's why he fired him, because Luke Getsy refused to use Fields' legs in the way you needed to. Look at the jump the Ravens took with Lamar Jackson when they got rid of Greg Roman and installed Todd Monken. And think about what you could get for the number 1 overall pick. You could move down out of the top 5 and get 2 entire draft classes. You could slide down to number 2 or number 3 or whatever and take Marvin Harrison Jr. plus get extra assets, which you could, if you needed to, use in later years to go get a new quarterback if Fields does not pan out. And you build a DJ Moore, Marvin Harrison receiving duo, and any quarterback should have at least something resembling more success with a good offensive coordinator, guy I like in Shane Waldron, by the way. So if you wanted me to pitch it, that's how I would do it. From Trevor, does Mac Jones have any trade value? No. He's broken. It's not his fault. It's not all his fault. But they went from he looks promising in year 1 with Josh McDaniels to it was Matt Patricia as the OC. It's not his fault. It can't get any worse to, oh my God, it got worse with Bill O'Brien. He never looked comfortable out there. That organization failed him. For as much, and this is pointed out by many, as much as we want to say, going to happen no matter what, where you go matters. Mac Jones went to a bad spot with Patricia O'Brien as the play callers, and the supporting cast was not very good. So there's no real trade value there. Maybe a late day 3 pick. Maybe he can go to the Kyle Shanahan school for QBs who can't play good and want to do other stuff good too, as the backup, kind of like Darnold did. But I don't think there's no one was trading to be a starter. No one with a non-dark horse tanking plan has that in mind. So is Mac Jones a starting caliber NFL quarterback? 1 for yes, 2 for no. Go ahead and vote in the comments section. Thunder 404. Would Bobby, I think it's pronounced Babich, be a bad hire for the Giants DC? He is the linebackers coach for the Bills. They are interviewing him. He's had a very unique path. He's got ties to the Bills and Brian Dable, so I think that makes some sense. I don't think he's been a defensive coordinator elsewhere. I'm looking at his resume right now. Not really. Been kind of a rapid riser. Began his coaching career at Kent State. The last coach at Kent State, I remember on the defensive side, worked out pretty damn well. His name was Nick Saban. It's like obviously an unrealistic expectation there, but he's young. He knows Dable. So if you want experience, maybe a red flag. But if you want the up-and-comer who's got background in both secondary and linebackers, it's not a bad thing. Anthony Manzano, #mob. Who is your most underrated cornerback prospect and safety prospect that nobody is talking about? Ooh. So how far deep do I go when we're talking about like no one's talking? But I'll try to avoid most of these like top 50 etc. prospects. Cornerback. Let me think here. The elite name option is Storm Duck, but he actually hasn't been very good in his NFL career. I kind of like Max Mel. I know. Mikey Sane, Bristol out of Michigan. That's my guy. Because I am a sucker for the undersized nickel corner who plays like a madman out there. Safety wise, just because I mock draft him, I'm going to skip the Utah kid because that seems mean. Bo Braid from Maryland is someone my buddy Dalton Miller mentioned. He's pretty intriguing, by the way. I'll make this note right now, too. The day 3 class is not good. As I was kind of doing a bunch of like mock draft sims for different teams, and I'm like, oh my God, it's bad. When we get like the sixth round, it's like these guys aren't good. Like relative to most draft classes. It's a thin class. NIL, small junior class, COVID year, all adds up. Now, the NFL year might be winding down. We are not going anywhere. Hit that sub button for more free NFL YouTube videos. James NFL channel, where does Mike Evans go? I think back to Tampa. I think that is the most likely path for him because they played really well this year. I think they'll find a way to make that work. From Cameron, I think the Bills draft a receiver in the first round, 24. Who do they take? Well, I think Khalil Shakir can be your nickel, so I want an outside receiver. I don't think Keon Coleman gets there, and I don't think Brian Thomas gets there either. But Troy Franklin, either Texas player. I like Xavier Legette a lot, by the way. I think he's a fun piece. Maybe the value's not right, and they wait till round 2 when there's a bunch of good ones as well. But I think receiver early makes a lot of sense. Mark Kearns, any truth to the Josh Allen trade rumors? No, there is not. That is not something that will happen. I think that is all speculative hope from other fans of like, let's make this happen. To put in perspective, if the Bills traded Josh Allen right now, they'd eat $56 million in dead money. So that's not really going to happen. They're just going to restructure his deal like, smart teams tend to do. Charles, will the Eagles trade A.J. Brown? I don't think so. There was a lot. The vibes are bad in Philly on offense right now. So they fired the OC. They got Goddard yelling at Hurts mid-game. Brown seemed disgruntled many times, was clapping out on social media. So I don't think they trade him. He's too important. But this upcoming offseason and season, it's a big one to kind of stabilize things in Philly, who's never afraid, that organization, of firing a Super Bowl appearing head coach. They did with Doug Peterson, do it with Sirianni if they wanted to as well. Andy Reid technically too. Name a player who you think ends up getting traded. Sound off for me in the comments section. Anthony, who are your top targets for the Dolphins? Does it need corner, safety, tackle, linebacker, guard, or center? You could knock out one of those spots with two guys in either Graham Barton or Troy Fontenot. Both guys played tackle in college, going to kick inside in the NFL. I think they'd be good mid to late round picks. I'm not taking linebacker in round 1. Corner, there's a long list of guys. Probably not a safety in round 1 either. I think for teams like the Dolphins, lineman makes sense. Finally, Ruthless Monk. I think Rashee Rice is one of the most underrated receivers in the NFL. No. I like Rashee Rice. The things he does, the Chiefs have begun to maximize him for in impressive fashion. He does not run the full route tree. Go back and look at his stuff. But they get in the ball in the right ways. They get the ball in space, on crossers, and it works. And that's a good thing. I think he will always be a better explosive play, big chunk play guy, fantasy receiver than he's going to be like a real true receiver one unless that route tree comes along more. He was kind of always a boomer bust player coming out of college. He's in a good spot, though, in KC, and the numbers will match that up. Speaking of KC, who you got? C for the Chiefs, R for the Ravens. Who you got? C or R? R. Jonesy says R. He also says, can the Colts get Brock Bowers at 15? I don't see how. I think a team's going to go, he's not a tight end, he's a playmaker, which he is, and be like, great, we did it. He's Aaron Hernandez minus the murdering. Like, it's really good. You laugh. I'm not wrong, though. I'm out of line, but I'm not wrong. I am right. He's a really good player, though. Mark says Ravens by 21. Ooh, that's a good one. That's a fun one, I should say. Ron and Shelley all saying R. R. Jonesy says R. That I guess checks out too. Juan Sanchez says C. Get your comments in as we get set up now for the Mel Kiper new mock draft. Before we get into the latest mock draft from Mel Kiper, we will have plenty of 2024 NFL draft coverage for you right here on the channel, including the live coverage of the NFL draft. So make sure you are subscribed. There's a new mock draft out from ESPN's Mel Kiper, who he tried to hype as his first crack. No, it's like your seventh crack, but it's fine. It's fun. We love mock drafts here at Chat Sports. That's why we do one each and every single week at minimum. At number 1 for Mel, Caleb Williams. The Chicago Bears picked their new quarterback there. If I had to guess, and again, it is January, still a lot to be decided there, I think Mel was right that Williams ends up being the number 1 overall pick. Now for a shocker. Jaden Daniels off the board here at number 2 overall. No, there's no coach yet, so I think we're maybe trying to get a little, buzz going for the mock draft. I like Daniels a lot. I would not take him over the number 3 pick, Drake May. I think May gives me some Justin Herbert vibes in a very positive sense. Both these teams need quarterbacks, so if one's there and they believe in them, you have to take them. I just think that I think May brings you a little bit less chaosness. Like, Daniels is electric. He's awesome. He's fun. Don't get me wrong. He's worthy of a top 10 pick as far as I'm concerned. But I've watched Drake May with a bunch of different personnel out there making things happen, having success. To be fair, it's not always how it plays out in the NFL. Jaden Daniels is probably going to have 2 first-round receivers on his team. Now, it worked out just fine for C.J. Stroud. Don't get me wrong on that front. But I would take Drake May over Jaden Daniels. But I'm not anti-Daniels. I don't want to make it seem like it's that way because I don't love this pick here by Mel. Daniels is fun. I wish he protected his body more. He's out there playing like Josh Allen sometimes. He does not have the body armor that Josh Allen does, and that is a concern for me. So do you agree with me or disagree? Pick a quarterback. DM for Drake May or JD for Jaden Daniels. Let's say Caleb Williams goes number 1 overall. You are the Commanders. Who are you taking with that number 2 pick? DM for May, the UNC quarterback, or JD for Daniels, the LSU quarterback. Number 4 is Marvin Harrison. This is the easiest pick in NFL history, barring chaos. If you're the Cardinals, you need a receiver. You have the best one. I've scouted in my brief time doing this. Boom. Done. Easy. By the way, Marvin Harrison will be my number 1 player. The only guy on my board in terms of tiering, when it's all said and done, that I've done in recent years, it's going to be in the same range as Marvin Harrison, has been Quentin Nelson. That caliber of player. Number 5 is Brock Bowers, the LA Chargers there. Can argue receiver or offensive line for me. Again, as of filming, no head coach in place, or that might change in the near future, even maybe when it goes out potentially. But you add a playmaking in the middle of the field guy for Herbert, I think that's a good idea for LA. The Giants at 6, I think also pretty easy. Malik Neighbors. I actually get some Odell Beckham vibes from him. NFL teams crave explosive plays. It's literally all he did. Just constant big plays for LSU. I think it'd be a great fit for LA. It's going to be very boring, but pretty much every single mock draft that's good is going to have an offensive tackle at number 7 to the Titans. Joe Alt here, the selection. Him and Peter Skronsky on the left side, who, by the way, decent chance Bill Callahan comes aboard the staff to join his son. It's setting up for a bright future in Tennessee. Our first defensive player here off the board, Dallas Turner, the edge out of Alabama. You've got some veterans in there. We'll see what they do with guys like Bud Dupree, etc. But adding more pass rush talent does make sense. I don't love this early defensive class. Turner, though, I think is the safe pick. I'll explain why I emphasize safe. The first defensive player taken this year. Bears go quarterback, then get a wide receiver. Rome Odunze. I like his game a lot. Really fun receiver who, in last year's class could have been in the number 1 receiver conversation, but he's stuck behind 2 great players in Marvin Harrison and Malik Neighbors. He and DJ Moore, you got playmakers now for your new franchise QB. Defense also very much in play. Jets go to the podium quickly here. Olu Fashanu out of Penn State. Young player, 1 sack in his 21 career starts for Penn State. Is not a finished product yet. That's not a bad thing. He's got a lot of talent there. Protect Aaron Rodgers / your future quarterback down the road makes a lot of sense. Today's show is made possible by Game Time. It's the fast and easy way to buy tickets for whatever sport, music, comedy, theater event near you. And imagine if you were out in Vegas for the big game this year and you had an extra $100 just laying around. Well, you can, thanks to Game Time. Any user who buys a ticket to the big game with promo code Vegas100 gets $100 off. So if you are planning to go out to the big game, you know what game I'm talking about, use promo code Vegas100 for $100 off. If you are going to it, you have to use Game Time. Otherwise, you are leaving money on the table. So again, go to GameTime.co, create your account, or if you've already downloaded the app and are a user, you just use promo code Vegas100 for $100 off your big game ticket. If you are not going, it's okay too. You can still use promo code NFL Chat for $20 off whatever your next ticket purchase is for sporting events, music, theater, etc. That applies to anything. Promo code NFL CHAT, $20 off your first purchase, or promo code VEGAS100 for $100 off only a big game ticket. Link and promo codes are in the comments section and the description of today's show. Number 11, Nate Wiggins out of Clemson. I'm not in love with it, but I get it. It fills a need. You can argue Wiggins is the number one corner this year. He's not my number one, but he's not far behind it there. I have no major issues there. I said safe for Dallas Turner because I think the best defensive prospect is Liatu Latu out of UCLA. The issue here is he medically retired from football in 2021 at Washington. Now has since been cleared to play for the Bruins and had awesome seasons the past 2 years, especially this past season, but the medical is a bit of an unknown there. If he's fully healthy, he should be a top 10 pick in this defensive class, but he might not be for some teams. Number 13, Terrion Arnold of Alabama. We'll get to Kool-Aid McKinstry at the very end of today's video. Arnold offers a bit more inside, outside stuff, but I think corner's a huge need for the Raiders, so I get it. Brian Thomas Jr. here from LSU, sticking in the area to the Saints. Teams typically love 6'4" receivers who can fly. That's what Brian Thomas is. I would not be shocked if he goes just before Keon Coleman here. Now, Mel mocks this as a basically Michael Pittman Jr. replacement, which is fine. Coleman is one of the younger players in this year's class. I love drafting young guys because they're really good as young guys. Imagine how they'll be in 2 or 3 years as they continue to mature. So receiver with Coleman and Richardson plus Downs and Pierce, that's fun. Here's J.J. McCarthy, number 16 to the Seahawks. The Geno Smith contract is fairly team-friendly, but they might try to upgrade. McCarthy is a massive boomer bust prospect. He has some great pros, mobility, arm strength. Some of those throws look just super, super impressive. There's also moments of he's not making that many actual NFL throws. It's all play action and rollouts. And if a team could only design a rollout right play, McCarthy would be the number one pick in the NFL draft every year because he's awesome at it. But there's still a lot of growth left to be done. But he's also way younger than Nix and Penix are. Imagine if McCarthy spent 3 more years in college. That's where he'd be age-wise. So massive boomer bust pick here. Seattle, depending on who they go with the quarterback here, might be intriguing. So should J.J. McCarthy go in round 1? Y for yes, N for no. Go ahead and sound off for me in the comments section right now. I am a big fan of Cooper DeJean's game. The cornerback out of Iowa did break his leg in November. He can play inside, outside, safety. Jags need secondary help. It just makes sense. Also, this Bengals pick is going to be a very popular one. J.C. Latham, a right tackle for Alabama, who would potentially replace the other right tackle from Alabama the Bengals have. That's Jonah Williams. He's a free agent. 1-for-1 swap. It just makes sense. Jared Verse, inconsistent at times at FSU. Really dominated down the stretch this year, but was kind of MIA for a good half of the season. You pair him with Byron Young and Kobe Turner, 2 young, talented defensive linemen. I like that trend for the Rams, who quickly turn things around, right? after a little reset year. Funny how that works. Kamari Lassiter out of Georgia to pair with Joey Porter Jr. A couple other corners I like more, but they didn't really throw his way, and that matters a lot for me. Teams aren't throwing your way in college. I think that means you're pretty good. Number 21, Troy Fontenot out of Washington to the Miami Dolphins. He can play left guard for you, fill that kind of need as a tackle for the Huskies. Probably going to play inside in the NFL. Taliese Fuaga, the pick here for Philadelphia. Now, few teams really stick with the big key positions in the same way that Philadelphia does of, receiver, offensive line, pass rush, corner, or quarterback in the first round. They also just drafted Tyler Steen, who I thought was going to be a tackle option for them in the third round. Maybe it's not. I get Lane Johnson is old, but you're probably going to have to fill somebody in at guard. And maybe their path here is I kind of talk myself into this because Mel mentioned only Lane Johnson. Maybe what you would do is put Cam Jurgens in at center and put Fuaga in there on the right side somewhere with Steen on the right side somewhere down the road. Maybe that's your best path. But that defense needs help. So to pass on defense, it was kind of surprising to me. I like this Jerzon Newton pick back on the positive side here. Impact 3 technique type. It's exactly what the Texans need as they continue to move forward into the D'Amico Ryans focused players. Who is your favorite prospect in the 2024 NFL Draft? Sound off for me in the comment section today. In my latest Cowboys 7-round mock draft, I had the exact same pick. I hate when Mel does that, or when the unfortunate luck happens that way, I guess. You plug Jordan Morgan in there at left tackle. You keep Tyler Smith at left guard. Now you've stabilized your future on that side. Number 25, Kingsley Suamataia out of BYU. Say that one 10 times fast. David Bakhtiari, I don't know if and when he's going to play again. Suamataia has left tackle upside coming out of BYU. Big person, big man, adding a left tackle. I will never be mad about late round 1 offensive line picks. Unless it's, who was the Eagles firefighter guy? Oh, it's gonna pain me forever until I can think of that. The Danny Watkins, who did not work out very well for Philadelphia. All right, Chop Robinson, number 26 here to the Bucs. The production is not there. The traits are kind of like Odafe Owe, kind of get vibes similar, like expected production versus traits, etc. It's a big deal there for Chop. Adding him to a long-term pass rush with Yaya Diaby kind of flashing, it's intriguing. Arizona takes Tyler Guyton out of Oklahoma. I think what you would do long-term here is you might have to – DJ Humphries' uncertain status. You take Paris Johnson in there at the left tackle down the road, Guyton on the right side. Again, I would love some defensive help here for Guyton, or for Arizona, but Guyton is a very promising offensive tackle prospect. A.D. Mitchell out of Texas. I've never been a big Gabe Davis fan, too streaky for me. Mitchell has some streakiness as well, but there's a lot of upside there to pair with Diggs and others moving forward. And the first 28 picks, draft order set in stone. The last 4 are based on the ESPN FPI projections, so yell at them, not me. Troy Franklin, number 29 here to the Chiefs. Speedy receiver to pair with Rashee Rice, I think makes a ton of sense. Quinyon Mitchell to the Detroit Lions. A MAC player, very rare for the first round, right? He's super good, though. He's going to be at the Senior Bowl. I think he's going to show out in a pretty impressive fashion. Knowing, of course, the Senior Bowl is, especially in practices, very much in favor of the receivers. Ennis Rakestraw, I don't hate him. I think there are other corners that were on the board that should have gone before him, one of which in the SEC really stands out to me. I'm also not sure 6 corners would go in the round 1, be the most since 2020. But he's a talented player. I just like him more in the second round on day 2 than like I do round 1. Love pick 32, though. Amarius Mims out of Georgia has not played that much, but also never allowed a sack in college. Also was like a half season of pass snaps, 372. So, it's kind of chaotic there. Could be a right tackle short term. I think has upside to be a left tackle down the road as well. So grade Mel Kiper's NFL mock draft. A, B, C, D, or F. Sound off for me in the comments section right now. But before we go, some top prospects not included. Bo Nix, I don't know where he's going to go. I think he could go, mid-round 1 to third round or even, early 4th. It's a tough eval, to be honest. I like Graham Barton a lot. I think he's a very talented offensive lineman who can play all over the line. I think Byron Murphy, come even February, March, probably going to be in most first-round mock drafts. Leonard Taylor gets a lot of buzz. I mentioned him. I don't see it in round 1, so I'm kind of glad Mel put him out there. Boyd McKinstry, not going in round 1. I just don't get it. Mel has him as a top 5 corner, so maybe he's hearing something from others. Like I can get on board him not being corner 1 or corner 2 or corner 3, but I like McKinstry a lot. So maybe I'm wrong. Would not be the first time, but he'd be in my mock draft as we sit here in late January. All right, of the NFL jobs open, which one is the best one? ATL for the Falcons, CAR for the Panthers, WAS for the Commanders, SEA for Seattle, and LAC for the Chargers. Let me know what you think is the best job this season. No loop today, by the way. We'll just go ahead and end it because we're on 69 likes. No one liked the video right now. Or if you do like it, a lot of people should do it as well. I see LAC, SEA, LAC, Seattle in there, who's the number 1 Michigan fan. Maybe biased there to not lose Harbaugh, but either way, I think you can make the argument. Washington from Jared TG as well. We will have more NFL videos for you, news, rumors, etc., and more. Also, people like this. We blew by 69. It's still fun. If you haven't already, hit that sub button. We'll be live again on Thursday, and then again on Sunday, 2 different streams for the AFC, NFC championship games.